Testing, testing, 1, 2.
Public committee meeting, Wednesday, February 26, 2025. Please call to order.
Councilman Haddix?
Present.
Councilman Bounds?
Present.
Councilman Dennis?
Present.
Councilwoman Faison?
Present.
Councilman Ogle?
Present.
Mayor Pelot?
Present. Please silence your phone and stand for the Pledge of Allegiance by Councilwoman Faison.
Allegiance
To the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It's public comment period. Members of the audience have 3 minutes to make a statement or express a concern. Anyone having or expressing a concern tonight may or may not get an answer due to the fact that the council could be hearing the concern for the first time. All statements will be considered and everyone will receive an answer in the near future. Is anyone here to speak to the council? Seeing no one, we'll move into the business. First thing on the agenda in Finance Committee members is Councilman Bounds and Councilman Haddocks. First thing on the agenda is the millage roll forward. Just to give you an idea and reason why it's there is that last month the millage roll forward was introduced and passed. The introduction was the first step of several steps that need to take place. The next step is it's being advertised and there will be a public hearing and the council will vote for or against the millage roll forward on April the 9th. The reason between the 2 months is by the time it was passed last month on 2/15, it requires 30 days to be advertised before you can go to a council public hearing. So there's not enough time between the April meeting and the February meeting for it to be advertised. So that's why it's a 2-month period in between. So the next time you'll see it on the agenda will be April 9th. Is there any other comments on that? Hearing none, we'll move into the next thing, is the 2024 audit. And I meant to do this prior to even starting the night. I just wanted to introduce to everyone because either council members or audience who are here don't know Jennifer. Jennifer was hired, Jennifer Fruget was hired. She's our finance clerk, and she was hired when Deidre was promoted. So she came tonight. She deals with the finances, and she assists me with the budget. So I was just giving her an idea about the council meetings, the budget, and if there's any concerns or questions about the 2024 audit, she and Deidre are both here to try to help answer those questions. Are there any questions on the budget any questions on the budget that was given to you? Well, now you can go home. No, I'm kidding. Thank you for coming. Next thing on the agenda is the wage study update. And the update, actually, I'll give you a small just glimpse of what's going on. We had a meeting today with the company, and just the first time we've had a scheduled meeting since they left. We've scheduled another meeting for 2 weeks from now. And that scheduled meeting will be just to get some update and information prior to the pay structure meeting with the council. So 2 people, the finance committee, were both there, Councilman Haddocks and Councilman Bounds. If y'all want to add anything to that comment or update, please do.
The meeting went well. It was quick. Kind of high-level stuff. So I'm anxious to see all the details when they come back in 2 weeks and start putting this thing to rest.
And it's a very detailed and inclusive study with just about everything you could want to know about the wage scale. So we feel confident in that information that's coming to us.
Any other comments from anyone? Council? Comments? That next thing on the agenda is operations and maintenance. Committee members, Councilman Ogle, Councilman Dennis is in the operations and maintenance. First thing on the agenda is the water system evaluation, and that's there just again to discuss the unidirectional flushing schedule for April 14th and 15th. And any other comments that need to be made tonight?
I have a few, especially since we were in the news this week, if you don't mind.
I didn't know that.
First of all, I want to thank Kim and Gary for their patience with the water issues that they have been having, and many of us have had over the past couple of years. I understand your frustration that, led you to talk to the news station. You were on the radio too. And a lot of people were talking about the situation on Facebook. It's impossible in a 2-minute news segment to get out what's been happening with the water. And it's impossible to even explain it on Facebook. If you go longer than a few sentences, people lose interest and then they stop reading. But I did want to take a moment to update what we have done. The news station kind of played the story as almost town against the residents sort of situation, which may have been true a year ago, but I don't think it's true today. But there have been a lot of things that have happened with the water system that I think have brought me to the point where, I'm ready to make a recommendation tonight, similar to what I've made already, but just to go over a few of the things. First of all, Curtis Environmental I've got the report here. They completed about a 4 or 5 week study of the water system, taking samples at multiple locations. I think there were 17 findings where we had high levels of iron and manganese, and they were all close to a fire hydrant. They also took samples at homes, and on those days, none of those samples tested high. The other thing that maybe is more important about those test results is the water that's coming out of the well, every time it was tested, showed that it had low levels. It had iron and manganese, but it was low levels, well below what we've been told would be a level that you would be concerned about beyond flushing, to have to either filter it or use polyphosphates to sequester the manganese in the water. So we know that the water coming out of the well, and we were told this months ago, is some of the cleanest in the parish. Cal also had maintenance done on both of the water tanks, and I got a couple of pictures here, but this is, I know you can't see it, but this is the water tank on the south side of town when they opened it up. It's extremely clean. The one that's in question on Old Ponchatoula had residue in it, and they cleaned it out, and there's another picture where it's completely clean. So the water comes out of the well, it goes through a pump, it goes through goes into a pressure tank. So we know the water's coming out clean, or in low levels of iron manganese. We know the tank has been cleaned, but somewhere between that tank and the houses on Old Ponchatoula Highway, specifically the worst areas around where Kim lives, there's something in the system that's causing that manganese to build up, and then on certain occasions, we know to expect it when the flushing happens, but when there's also a change in water pressure, and then at other times, there appears to be no reason why the water gets brown, and we get brown water. But we certainly know from the tank to those homes is a fairly short distance, maybe 1,500 feet. Several months ago, I asked the mayor to get an estimate on what it would cost to replace that piping. We don't have a specific estimate on that section. The engineering company came back with a price of $204 per foot as kind of an average price. I think we could get that pipe replaced for much less than that because we don't have hard surfaces. We got plenty of right-of-way. We don't know exactly where the issue is. We don't know exactly what the issue is, but we know it's somewhere in that section. And I suspect that maybe we have other sections of the water system around town that have a similar issue. But until we make the effort to go ahead and start to replace those pipes and start to bring some relief to the people, we're never going to know exactly what's going on. My plan was to get a price for that specific section, first 2,000 feet of water main, and let it come up for a vote here. Ask PEC to do the engineering work on it and put it up for bid. It would take months to go through that process, and I don't see any reason why we should wait another few months to do that. We have this unidirectional flushing coming up, and that was put together by another report, Owen and White, and they inventoried all of the pipes in town. It turns out we have at least 6 miles of water pipes in town. We're talking about the first 1,000 or 2,000 feet to do something about, to try to bring some relief to people. If we're lucky, that's where the whole problem is, and people down the line will see some relief as well. If we get through all of that, and we still have water issues, then we know we have a problem with the well, and we've got to do something about the well. I wanted to share a couple of things with other members of the council. Down. The first one is a couple of months ago, I'd spoken to everybody and said that I talked to John Schroeder. He's the former, I think he was the treasurer for 8 years. And as a resident, before I got on the council, my assessment of the town's approach with fixing the water problem was to wait for somebody else to pay for it. And actually the town, the mayor, have been pretty successful in getting some money from the state for a number of projects. The biggest, the $2 million for the sewer. But I'm worried that if we keep waiting, we're just going to keep waiting. And so I asked John, you know, what's the likelihood, in your opinion, you were the state treasurer for 8 years, and he sent me this. He says, Lewis, write this down. They wouldn't have enough money in your lifetime to fix everything that needs to be fixed. Everybody's waiting on the state and government to help them. I've watched town after town use their infrastructure money on things that weren't infrastructure. I think there should be legislation that stops towns from mingling their monies. I don't think this town does that, by the way. Louisiana is a broke state. The current set of legislators don't really understand that they haven't been there long enough. Everybody believes money will rain down from the heavens. It will not happen. You may luck out, but you shouldn't run your town on luck. I'd be honest with the citizens of the town and put a plan together and show them what it will cost. Transparency and accountability for the use of funds almost doesn't exist in most towns. So obviously the people don't trust the leaders. And in most cases, the leaders don't have the expertise to make these kinds of decisions financially. So that came from our state treasurer. I know we talked a lot about polyphosphates. Stacy's not here tonight, but she asked me to reach out to the Pontchartrain Conservancy, which I did. And I asked their executive director just if they had some information about polyphosphates and some position on what they would recommend to municipalities like ours. And she sent me an email. I hope she doesn't mind me sharing it with you. But she went through she listed out what options we have, and it's 6 different options for dealing with manganese in the water. But in the end, she's asking us to consider all options because she has some concerns about phosphates as well. So where I'm going with this is, I think it's time, actually I think it's past time to move forward with looking at the pipes. We've isolated where this problem is, not the exact location, but a pretty small area. One of the other issues that we had discussed over the last few months was if we replace the pipes, will the manganese just build up in them again? Well, Kyle went out and took some pipe samples, and he punched into the pipe and he got 5 different coupons from around the town. Coupons is the section that he pulls out, and it turns out, at least from those samples, it's not in the pipe walls, it's somewhere else, because he told us that the pipes on the north side of town where they have the water problem actually had less residue than the pipes on the south side of the town where we don't have a water quality issue. So that's where I am with all of that. But the final thing I want to say is that I've heard a lot of people on the news, on the radio, on Facebook, using the word, this is an isolated problem. And that's not my opinion of it. To me, this is a widespread problem. It's an intermittent problem. And if you're not at home when the brown water comes out, and you're not there turning your water on, maybe you don't see it and then it goes away and you never knew it happened. But it's a real problem. It's real down close to the well. It's real at my house, and it goes beyond my house, all the way to the other side of Piggly Wiggly. So it's not an isolated problem, and it is time for us to move forward. I don't know if it's the right time to make a motion, Mr. Mayor, but I move that we contact PEC and move forward with looking at that first 2,000 feet of pipe and seeing if they can get us a plan together and a price, not a price, a plan together that we go out to bid and get prices for doing that. If the flushing works in April, maybe we pull the plug on the pipes, but I don't have great confidence right now in the flushing. I do realize that I've spoken to several experts who said the unidirectional flushing is better, but they also told us that we don't have the volume or the pressure to really do it correctly. So that's where I am with the water issue. I look forward to the unidirectional flushing happening in April, but I believe it's time for us to move forward, not wait anymore. I feel like we've wasted some time on other opinions, and we need to take action.
Go ahead.
Are we allowed to decide not to move forward with a project if we get to the bidding phase, we get bids, and then we decide, hey, you know what, we don't want to do this? Is that an allowable thing?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. I mean, it's going to cost you along the way.
Well, right, we'll pay for the engineering, right?
Okay, but yes.
Right, absolutely. Louis, I just pulled up on Google Maps. I just want to verify. You're saying roughly 2,000 feet from the well on Old Ponchatoula to just before the curve in Johnson Street, where it turns from Old Ponchatoula to Johnson Street. That's where you're suggesting. That's 2,000 feet. Kim's house is actually 1,300 feet from the well, right? Right. Okay. I just want to make sure that we're talking about the same length after looking at this. First, thanks for providing the inside photos of those tanks. It's good to see that they're clean and that the maintenance is being done. I've had several people ask me, are you maintaining the tanks? Are things being done that they're supposed to be? At no point do I think that anybody is just not doing the maintenance that's required, right? I know that the town has gone out twice now, once to check the connection, and then the second time to dig up. What I was told, and I think I'm correct, is roughly 160 feet to see if there was a level issue in the piping in front of Kim's house. What we were told was that it's actually higher. It's a high point. I'm curious. I know, Gene, didn't you say that you guys sent it off to the?
Yes, we did.
Yeah, they sent it off to the company that created our model. I'm interested to see what they have to say. But at this point, I'm also not opposed to the idea of spending the money to have the engineering work done. So if we do get to a point where we're like, hey, this needs to be done, we've run out of options, we can jump on that. Because I think you're right. I mean, it's going to take a while to have that done. And as long as it takes to have it done, that's as long as Kim is going to have to continue living with this in her house. So, yeah, I like the idea of getting started on that. So,
I have one question about that. And so we've done the punch outs. We've checked that it's not any worse. Or maybe it's worse on this side than that side, but it's not an issue of deposits. Have we done the punches in that sector to feel confident that there's no residue there? I don't know if I'm asking that correctly.
No, I think we have one punch in that section.
Oh, we had more.
In the first 2,000 feet?
There were a total of 7, I think it was. There were 3 on this side of town, 4 on the other side. Yeah, there's one that was done right across the street from Kim's house by Ryan, is it Ryan? Lane Pennington's house. So there was one right across the street done. Where the others were done, I don't remember.
I guess my question
But
is.
there was there residue inside the pipe? Oh, certainly there was. You could touch it and see, but it was the same amount practically on both sides of town. So there is residue in there, and certainly the unidirectional flushing hopefully will take some of that out. We don't know that yet. That's something that once we had the design, the model of the water system done, now we can do that next step, and that's the unidirectional flushing.
I guess my question is, before we spend all kinds of money or start tearing up roads or lines and putting up new lines, how do we get a better feel for how that line is on Old Ponchatoula in that 2,000 feet or in 3,000 feet? How do we get a better feel than a punch out? Is there a way to I mean, I think they checked the house. That's not an issue. We were gonna check the pipes in front of the house.
We did, and actually, the connection to the main was in the proper location. And when it was disconnected and flushed, there was brown water coming out of that section, going into the connection. And it was done several times. The next procedure was done just this week to check the elevation of the line. And the elevation actually went up instead of, we were thinking that it could possibly have a belly in the pipe in front of their house, which would be capturing or catching some of the residue. And when it flushed, it moved it into their house. That it worked just the opposite. It's actually higher in front of their house than it is on the we tapped it in 3 different places. Or dug it up in 3 different places. So those 2 didn't really indicate the problem. The information that we gained was sent off yesterday to Owen White, who is that company, to see if they had a recommendation after that was done.
Because clearly it's in the line there. I mean, not clearly.
No,
It seems
you're
to
right.
be in that
Yeah.
line
Yeah.
and maybe in that section.
Mhm.
But before we spend $400,000 in engineering money, is there a way to find out with more clarification? Yes, Mr. Payne.
Out there, dug it up, we ran the water straight from the tap, like this tap is correct on top, and it was a new tap. I didn't realize they could put a new tap, I thought that was the old house, and called it also actually. So I put it on there, and we put a new tap in, so all that was correct. So we disconnected from the meter, let water run, clear. I asked Carl to stroke the valve at the tap, open, close, to create pressure drop. Yep. About the 3rd time, brown water.
Mhm.
So without a doubt, to answer your question, proof positive, it's in the pipe.
Yeah.
There's nothing else there. We were at the tap. So,
I-
Kyle wanted to come back and
And that's exactly what he reported to me, and then we that's why we did this next step just this week. Listen, cut to the chase. I think we can identify a smaller area. We may not even have to go 2,000 feet, but it's 1,000 feet in front of their house that if we did that, there's not the indication that people 800 feet on one side or the other of their home are getting the same water as they are. So I have no problem, and I relayed that to them. I have no problem doing anything we can to fix their problem. But we also have to fix what we're putting into the pipe. We can change new pipe, but if we're putting the same water and we're not treating it, we're gonna get the same result. We're just disguising it, because it'll be clearer for a little while because we got new pipe there, but we're disguising it. We're putting the same water into that new pipe.
Yeah, the water has iron and well, it has manganese for sure.
And
But it's, and iron, yeah, but it's well below, you know, the levels that it's coming out later. One of that WDSU,
Years of buildup.
that WDSU report was very edited, but one thing I think that was important that Gary said was that, you know, if we put polyphosphates in there, it's going to, we're still gonna have the manganese in there, we're just not gonna see it.
You're gonna have the manganese whether you do it or not.
No, but it's, if we don't fix the pipes, it's gonna build up somewhere, and it's gonna be, and this is important, because if you look at the water coming out, so Kim, you know, posted some pictures of her water. I've had water at my house just as bad as her water and worse. Not as often as she has it, but I've had it. If that's, can I finish? Okay, if I know that's in the water, because we don't know when it's gonna happen. It just, we know it's gonna happen when, you know, we flush the lines, but other times we don't know. If I know it's in the water, I'm not gonna drink it. If I know it's in the water, you know, Shanda and I had our 2- and 4-year-old granddaughters at the house for 9 days. I'm not gonna put them in the bathtub with it. But if we're using the polyphosphates and we're not really taking it out and we're not doing anything with the pipes and it works, which I question it'll even work, but if it does work, it hides that manganese and it's still there in those high levels, but I don't know it. And I think that's an issue for us to not know
Wash
it.
your clothes, I mean,
What's that?
you can wash your clothes. I mean, you can use the water, you can wash your clothes with it. I mean, I've seen instances where it's turned the towels brown. Well,
Another part of this is that, you know, we've been spending a lot of time trying to learn more about what the solution is. And one of the things that happened was Kyle went to a training. And, you know, he sent us slides, and the slides right here. The experts do not recommend polyphosphates at a 0.03 level. And every time we test the water there at the well, it's 0.03, 0.027, something like that. It's not even at the level that you would use polyphosphate. So, you know, to me, we've got to fix the real issue, and it's somewhere in the pipe. I did speak with another resident. Mitch Valley used to own the house. It's like a blue house. It's the first house on the 22 side, right next to the ice machine. They've had issues with the brown water too, and I think more people have had issues. Maybe they're not complaining because they're not comfortable complaining, or they just accept it, or whatever. But it's actually before even it gets to Kim's house.
One of the videos posted, the water out of the hose was like 5 feet. That was April 28, 2024. April. And you were on today, still talking about that same water. I've seen no results. I've seen millions of dollars spent around the town. I think the pipe change, I think the well change. I've seen a couple experts come in that trying to sell you a product. I guess people want to come to a root cause analysis and say, this is your problem. I'm not going to sell you anything, you already tell what the problem is. That's what we need.
I disagree. I think the first man that came said, this is the problem. He tested the water. He said, this is the problem, and this is the solution. I'm sorry?
Was it different results from what Mr. Lewis?
No, it's the same results. It's the same results. We're dealing with manganese in the water and iron, and the solution was to add the polyphosphates, a very small amount of polyphosphates that would correct the problem. We asked for a professional opinion, we got one, and we refused to help you get clean water at your house by not passing that. Now, I don't disagree with changing pipes, but until we clean the water, why would we disguise the issue? The combination of changing pipes and the polyphosphates, in my opinion, along with the unidirectional flushing, all of the things that we've done over the past 6 months, trying to find the issue and trying to find the solution, is, you know, I agree, it's time to do something.
I'd be curious to, to take this as steps and phases, right? So we're talking about potentially replacing these pipes. I'm still curious if, we've got that high point that runs in front of their house, if there's not a dip right before that's collecting. So again, we're seeing this really heavy manganese. It's not like what's coming out of the well. Obviously, we're still gonna have manganese added into the system. We know that. It's coming out of the well in small amounts. The dark stuff that we're seeing is a buildup somewhere, right? We know that it's happening at least between the well and their home, which is roughly 1,300 feet. If we, well, right. No, and I just, we know specifically there's an issue between there and you guys, right? If we could replace those pipes, maybe we'll find something out in the process that will answer more of our questions. And then we can say, okay, we can now see why there was these huge buildups and sudden purges of massive amounts of manganese all at once. And then say, okay, do we need to add polyphosphates? Do we need to look at other options of filtration systems? This email that Lewis shared with us from, I'm sorry, Lewis, who is this? Christy. She mentioned several different options for filtration. I don't know the company Owens that came out, or not Owens, I'm so sorry, I can never remember the name of the company. I don't know what type of filtration system they said they couldn't fit, right? But maybe we could look at some other options that will filter the water. I think I'd like to see at least a step forward in let's get the engineering done. Let's get bids on how much it'll cost to replace at least to Kim's house.
See, we can identify, listen right down from them. The fire department doesn't have a problem. That's what they said. That's coming from them. They don't have a problem. So we can identify the pipe in front of their house. That's,
I mean, Gary, you own the place next to you as well, right? And it's on the west, hear me out. Because I live right down the street from you, right? It's, first of all, Lewis made a comment earlier about isolated issue versus, we got a town issue, plain and simple. I mean, nobody can argue that fact. The problem we don't know is where the hell it's coming from. If I'm not mistaken, you also have the place next to your home. And you don't see it as bad there as you do, because what I'm seeing, huh?
I'm never there.
But no, but when you lived in there, right? Did you have it as bad as you have it now?
Yes, we did have it. In fact, I had a tank with water heat tank. They kept getting stopped up. I had to take that out with traditional hot water.
It's true you had it, but I mean, because what you have right now is really abnormal in this town, right? Yes.
You were asking upstream, correct?
Whatever I thought you had that place.
Upstream from my house. When I was there, the tankless hot water heater, they stopped up because the wall was in there. They clogged up, I take that out. Water tank. So yes, it was brown back then. It was bad. Now that was 5 years ago, 6 years ago.
And now it seems to be worse if I'm getting
So at this, I don't know.
No, you're where you live in now.
Yeah, it was definitely hard for there or I don't know. But that's the reason I went with $40 water heater truck. Because I didn't want to deal with that anymore. $20
Oh, yeah, that's not why we live here.
Now we got two $40 tanks, we'll probably get much of that, but a lot of it is all in the line. So that was a groundwater touched on. And running hot water, that helps with the hot water. Brown water, goes in the tank. 3 days later, you run cold water. Blue brown. It's not cold water, it's not hot water. Coming out of my tank, it got there from the cold water.
No, I think it's been proven, it's nothing to do with your home, right? It has all to do with the system. But I'm gonna say something now, I wanna put something on record once again. This conversation of dirty water in this town, I've only lived in my home for 30 years. My family's been down here for, gosh, generations, right? The major issue of brown water in this town, I was not aware of until this last election started. I have an aunt who's on the end of the line, I knew she'd have some brown issues. Every once in a while we get it. I didn't realize how bad it was. And your place is the worst that I've seen, right? I don't check Facebook for items that I need to go work on in the council, with all due respect. So last April, I understand your frustration. No, so what I'm saying is, I 100% agree. You got a major problem. We got to figure it out. But if I understand this correctly, we've taken taps of the line between the well and their house, and they check out fine. We've checked the taps at your house. So far, the only thing we've seen that's different is the elevation of the pipe. But if the tank is clean, if the lines are relatively clean, why are they getting so much crap in their water? I'm not getting nearly what you're getting, right? So hear me out. I have no issue with changing everything in the town if we have to. But the problem is we don't know what the problem is. So we're going to take out pipe that we've already looked at. If I understand the test correctly, we looked at the pipe. It doesn't indicate that you should have this problem. We're just going to put more pipe down. We're not finding the problem. All right, we're going to go out and spend $400,000. We have no idea if it's going to work. All right, if it's all it takes is to go place 2,000 feet of pipe, we go do it. That's an easy solution. But we got pipe that's tested, and it doesn't show it. Who can we go to that can tell us where the hell is this coming from? We got a flow well that's putting out clean water. We got a tank that's clean, and we got pipe that's clean. It gets to their house, and it turns into mud. It makes zero sense.
Is there a way to take a section of pipe out?
Well, you take, get your big, that's not at the top of the pipe. Where do you think the sediment's at?
Can we do more plugs in under the pipe? I mean, you might be onto something. That's what I'm saying.
Can we do a section of pipe?
It's at the top, right, correct, where it should be.
Okay, but how much sediment, you may have 6 inches of sediment in the bottom of that pipe.
You could, and that's why we dug it up and shot elevation, to see if it was,
That's it on the table in the pipe.
well,
Can we take a section of pipe out?
we can take a 1,000 foot of pipe out.
I know, I'm in a sample section where near his house, take a 3-foot section out, take a look at the pipe and re-tap it without causing any major issues or leakages.
I just don't understand. If we've got supposedly clean pipe, clean water, clean flow. Right. That's what I'm saying. So why can't we do something very simple? Why can't we take a few more samples, right? I see no need in replacing pipe, but we're gonna put brand new pipe in, we're gonna be pumping mud in his house still, right?
Yeah, I'm not recommending.
So I'm trying to figure out, how did we get to the point of replacing the pipe if we said the pipe was clean? That's what I don't understand. Someone explain that to me.
I think it's maybe the way the pipe is laid. Maybe there are valves in there we don't know about. The pipes have been in there for maybe 60 or 70 years. We don't know. And what the experts have said is we can't put a camera in a pressured line. So we can't put, the ideal thing would be to put a camera in there all the way from the well to where Kim and Gary live and see what we see along the way. But we can't do that with a pressurized line. So I'm not asking tonight to replace the pipes. What I'm asking is to get the ball rolling, and it'll probably take 4 months to get to a bid process, but to get the ball rolling so that even in that 4 months, maybe we take more samples, and along the way we find out it's not a good idea.
No, I appreciate that and agree with that, because Lord knows getting anything accomplished takes forever, right? By the time we get engineers involved, we draw up specs, we vet it out, et cetera. What I'm saying is, why, if we've isolated, we think the problem, we know it's bad at your spot, all right? Everybody else gets it at some point in time, and nothing, I've never seen anything in my house like yours, and I don't live far from you. Exactly. So what I'm saying is, why, we've isolated an issue, why, you mentioned Curtis Environmental earlier. What all have they recommended for us? Who's recommended unidirectional flushing? What company?
Hertz Environmental has, but so has Owen White, right?
All Owen and White were brought in to do the samples of the system. So Owen and White were just brought in.
All right, so we got Curtis Environmental, we got Owen and White, we have the Towns Engineers in Baton Rouge, right, PEC. Which one does your best friend work for?
I'm sorry?
Which one does your best friend work for that I keep hearing about, Bubby?
That's Volker.
And what part of the process that we're doing right now?
Volker was approached at a municipal convention, and we told them about the problem. They had an expert that lived in Shreveport, I think it was, who dealt with water problems there. He was brought in. He was did all of the work that he did at no charge, obviously, to hopefully get some work. And we came back and he said that the polyphosphates was the answer, or either filtration. And the filtration would not work in that area. Obviously, if my friend was going to do anything, he would have advised that hell, something's wrong with it. Let me change it. Let me get some work out of this.
All right, so just for the record, we have 3 other firms working on it that have recommended this unidirectional flushing. Except I've seen some comments coming out in the last 24 hours that I felt were pretty insulting. So Bubby's company, he doesn't work in that division, nor do they charge us, nor are we using anything they recommended
No.
at this current time.
No.
So with that being said, we've identified a very, very short piece of pipe, in my mind, when you look at the whole town. Why can't more testing be done there? I have no issue with getting the ball rolling on something, all right? But why not get inside that pipe and check it out? If we replace that pipe, whether it's a foot or whether it's 2,000 feet, do we have to turn the pressure off? I don't know how it works, so I'm asking.
Oh, yeah.
And then why don't can we ask this question? How about we turn the pressure off and run a camera through it? We gotta find that. It's gonna do us no good. We go through this long process, right? And then you're gonna end up, all you're gonna end up with is with mud coming through new pipe, is what my fear is, right? So if we can get the ball rolling on specs and get ready for bids, why not shut the pressure off if we have to, find out how long does it take to run a camera? We run a camera 2,000, 3,000, 1,000, whatever it is, feet. Turn the pressure off. Hey, guys, the town, we have a problem, all right? We've been accused of all this crazy stuff on social media and on the TV and on the radio. You gotta do it without power, you gotta do it with water pressure for 24 hours, if that's how long it takes. Run a camera, let's get the facts and quit throwing darts at it. We brought no less than 4 specialists in here in this town, right? And no one can identify the problem yet. At least we've narrowed it down to the first 2,000 feet. We know one resident has by far the worst. How long does it take to run that camera into that system to find out the truth, and let's be done with it and get it fixed right and have it behind us? Just a simple question.
Who is it that told us they couldn't run cameras in pressurized pipes?
Everyone I spoke to in
Everyone.
Shreveport said that.
Everyone, if it's pressurized, you can't do it. But certainly, listen, that question hadn't been asked before, and certainly it can be asked to the engineers. Now that we have a sample of the system, it can be turned off in different areas. We know where to do it, and that certainly can be done, I would think. The pipe has been.
There's got to be something else. We've identified.
We have money for both. I mean, we have the money to fix the problem. If I knew what the problem was, Gary, it'd be fixed. We haven't found it out. No, and I'm not arguing.
I don't take what you're
I'm not-
saying as an argument.
I think
You have a quality of life problem, right? This is not a money problem. The problem is we don't know where to throw the money at, right? I think
And-
since this has become an issue,
Yeah.
we've taken proactive steps to try and figure this thing out, and nothing's panning out, right? So, right.
Well, manganese is the issue, and iron. And
I mean, so
the only
hang
thing
on. What should we have
the
done?
only
with
thing I
regarding
warned you
specialists?
about-
I mean, I'm trying to figure out if we don't bring in specialists, what would we have done otherwise? Right? So, yeah. Trust
Well,
me,
what I warned
want
you
your
about is-
situation fixed. I feel for you guys. It's horrible, right? And what's strange is why are you getting it and I'm not? I get it periodically, all right? No, I'm not saying nobody else gets it. I don't get it like y'all get it, which makes no sense. I got massive animals who drink gallons of water every day. I got a wife that stays at home, does laundry all day long, and it's like it makes no sense. And but for whatever reason, you're getting it's something very unique by your place that you're getting stuck with it.
That Kyle was hoping that we had the low point, right?
I should have done this earlier. You do need to speak in the mic. It is being live streamed, and I don't think anybody's hearing in that conversation.
It's very possible, yeah.
I'm sorry. I
I wanted to say it earlier, but I was like, he's on a roll, I'm not going to
I
interrupt him.
should have. No. Listen, all your comments have been heard, and certainly I don't want to have you misunderstand. I'm not arguing at all with you. I want to fix it. You got me on. I sent you an email, and you have it. I want to fix the problem. We just haven't identified what the problem is yet. And Tim, I think that's an excellent idea. You know, we can shut the water off, and as much as we're going to be in a situation where part of the town, when we unidirectional flush, is going to have to boil water, well, you know what? Certain part of the town can boil water for us to fix this problem, or to try to at least identify it by doing a camera work.
The only thing I warn of is you're the worst by all means. Nobody else seems to have it, and if they do, it's nowhere near as often as you. There's an issue right there in those pipes. But it is not going to, if we replace 1,300 foot of pipe, I don't believe it's going to eliminate the issue of brown water. We're still gonna have manganese and iron in the water. That doesn't mean that shouldn't be done. That doesn't mean, no, that needs to get, yeah, I agree. That needs to be done. I agree with Tim, it needs to be done. I agree we need to get samples, we need to get cameras and take a look at it. The thing I'm warning about is that when it is better, or if that is an issue where there's heavy sediment, the people in Madisonville Oaks get brown water. That's not gonna be fixed by replacing that pipe. Right? So,
Same way.
So I'm just, all I'm saying is beware that fixing that pipe probably needs to be done. We need to find out for sure. It probably needs to be done. But that is not gonna fix the problem throughout town. I'm just, without the polyphosphates,
If you're gonna comment, you gotta come up.
without the polyphosphates,
Well, we don't know what's going to fix the problem at their house nor the rest of the town, 'cause we don't know the actual where it's coming from. We've done all this testing so far, and it's yielded little to nothing for us, right? So the next step in my mind is, why not look from the tank to the curve in Johnson and test more through there with the pipe, and Lord, if we can get cameras there, it would be even better. I think we'll start finding what's causing it. Once we know what's causing it there, we know what's causing it throughout the rest of the town. So that's not going to, whatever's going on there is happening somewhere else as well, I'm sure.
I'll contact both PEC and Owen and White, who did the study tomorrow, and see if that can be done. It's a good suggestion.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I support additional testing, but I also move that we move forward with PEC, putting together a plan to replace that first 2,000 feet of pipe, get us ready to go to bid so that if we get through the testing and that's where we are, we're ready to go, and these guys don't have to wait, and they're here another year coming back saying, what have you done in this year? Gary mentioned 2024, my worst water was in April of 2023. Well before, that's going on 2 years now.
Well, I mean, just last month, you said the water was getting better at your house.
It is. I think the flushing is helping at my house. I'm still having brown water issues. I don't want to wait another few months to get more testing and then we're back to square one. I have a motion that I made. I think Kristen was ready to second it.
There's no motions at this meeting. You don't vote at this meeting. This is a committee meeting.
I've never seen anything in our town's charter that said you can't make a motion at one meeting over another.
There's nothing in the town charter about a committee meeting. We inserted this meeting as an extra meeting.
Regardless, it has to be approved at the council meeting, regardless whether it's approved tonight or whether it's discussed in 2 more weeks. The thought process, I believe, is spot on. If this is something we think may be a potential next step, let's at least bite the bullet and get the process started. All right, it's not going to be motioned tonight. It's not going to be approved tonight. It'll be approved at the next meeting. Let me rephrase that. It'll be motioned and voted on. And we understand that hopefully, what we're looking for is that in 4 months, when it's finally ready to go out to bid, we don't need it because we found the root cause and have fixed it.
All I did was stop the second because it's not a, yeah.
All right, so that sounds like 3 of us are in favor. Haven't heard from Brad or Keith, but, okay, 4.
I'm in favor.
All right, all 5 of us to move forward with getting that price. I'll make the motion at the next meeting, but I mean, there's
It's in
no
2
reason
weeks, by
to
the way.
wait.
I just want to clarify, that's in 2 weeks.
Yeah, there is no price to get. It's to get the PEC moving on writing the specs to potentially replace the first 2,000 feet of pipe.
Exactly.
They start writing the specs. Hopefully, we don't have to put it out to bid, but if we do, at least that part's behind us.
Well, the other thing that could happen is, with additional testing, we find we don't need to replace 2,000 feet. We want to replace 200 or something.
That's what we hope for.
Well, it's also possible that Owen White could follow up on the information that was given on the level of the pipe and give some indicator of what to look for next as well in this 2-week time period. So we've got multiple balls rolling as far as hopefully hearing other testing results. And then in 2 weeks, we can, vote in favor of getting the engineering done, right? So I think that we've got 3 things going right now to hopefully get an answer as soon as possible.
Any other discussion on the water? Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, because this is a committee meeting, it was inserted. It's not in the ordinances. It's not an ordinance. I mean, there's 1 meeting a month that we're obligated to have, and that's the council meeting. When I was elected to as mayor 8 years ago, I asked for a second meeting so that we could have these discussions and be ready to move on something during the council meeting.
So I'm going to be clear on this. In 2 weeks, y'all all on board with these pipe replacements.
Then you're asking us to vote. And that's not supposed to be done at this meeting. Never was.
Saying that y'all all on board with 2 weeks.
I am in support of doing whatever we can, including the polyphosphates, to clean the water and change the piping.
Has any company, all companies have suggested polyphosphate, or is there any company that has not?
3 of them have. 3 companies have suggested it.
And like Tim asked, since the plugs are coming out top, is there not a company that will instead?
We're gonna pursue that also. We're gonna pursue any way we can to solve your problem.
Let's discuss the 2-week delay. I think that's the heartburn we're left with right now, right? Understand there's rules and regulations that we have to follow, all right? I think I guess what my request will be is, I think this is not an official vote, but right now, looking at doing something proactive that'll save us a few months later on if we in fact need to replace the 2,000 feet of pipe. Can we get an email possibly sent to PEC saying, hey, this is a project we're looking at, we'll be voting on it in 2 weeks, can you get the process, can you start getting organized to prepare the specs on this job so we don't lose time? I think that's the heartburn, correct? Understand, it's frustrating trying to we have government rules that we follow, all right? So it's not, this having to do a.
The same thing can be done for all the suggestions tonight, along with Cameron, the pipe, along with getting prices on replacement of the pipe, can be sent tomorrow to the engineering.
Right, so what we're trying to say here is, we have protocol we have to follow. All right, with that being said, if we have an issue, we're not going to violate rules, right? The simple thing to do is request to be sent out tomorrow to the appropriate parties, the engineers, to kind of get the things moving. It'll officially be voted on next council meeting. And I think you've heard every single council person say they have no issue with getting the ball rolling with PEC, our engineer, to start drafting specs for a potential bid process. Correct?
Sounds good.
Correct.
Any other discussion on the water? Thank you. Let's move to the next thing, which is town rental use. Louis, I think this is something that you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, I proposed a discount for town residents, employees, and business owners when they rent town facilities. So that primarily it's the old town hall, but there's a room here that people could use and also a pavilion. So I just gave out to you. Deidre, I know this is probably a pain for you, but I appreciate you doing it. She sent me the entire year's worth of rentals on the town community center, just so we have a chance to look and see what the utilization is of that one facility. So that's what I have before you right now. And I guess what struck me the most was how little it is used. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 months with no rentals at all. We have several months with maybe just a retirement party here or a wedding party there, special event. So, and then at the top, I've got the regular uses of the rental facility. So the Council on Aging does meals. I think they do some classes there, and they pay $200 a month. I'm sure we're losing money on that, but I'm fine with it. I think they're providing a good service to the community. The Cub Scouts use it. They use it for free. I'm fine with that. Carucha uses it every year. They use it for free. It's used in October for the boat festival. But anyway, so the mayor had spoken, I think, to someone with the legislative auditor's office who was not in favor of us offering residents a discount. I sent a request to the Attorney General's office to give us an Attorney General's opinion. That's not back yet, but if they offer something different from the legislative auditor, I'll let everybody know. But I did want to share this with you because Deidre had gone to the trouble of doing that. And, you know, part of my goal here is to use our facilities more. And that they aren't being used, and maybe we need to market them more. Maybe there is a pricing issue. I've got the data in front of you to look at for how much we're using them right now for paid rentals.
Any other discussion?
Deidre, are we quoting the price a lot and people refusing because of cost?
Nobody's ever told me that they refused for the cost at all. I can tell you personally, though, my son's wedding was held there, and we priced everywhere, and it was considerably less expensive here than anywhere else.
Is it possible that it's more of just an advertising challenge, that people don't even know that it's available? That could be.
Probably.
Yeah, yeah.
That advertising gets expensive too on all the social magazines and wedding.
Oh, yeah, no, I was really more so just thinking social media,
Yeah.
that's it.
I agree.
Gladys Sloan's Rio and Morgan Street. What's the total rental on the property? What, do you have a total rental for the year? Like for 24?
I think it was budgeted around $12,000 or $15,000 for the year. There's the finance director right over there. Do you know what the year date is on that?
Yeah. I,
I'm just curious what the total is and what the expenses are. I mean, are we running like a loss?
well, we don't run a loss certainly for the rentals, but with the nonprofits that actually use the hall and the times that the utilities are on and no one's in there, because they're on 24 hours a day, there is a loss. The month that there's no activities in there, there is a loss.
Yeah, what's
Yeah.
the total loss for
The-
24?
The budget for rentals,
And I'm sure, do y'all have you have depreciation or anything like that goes into that? I mean, we look at an investment, right? We don't look at, hey, what's the bottom line? Is it profitable? Do we keep it? Do we still have enough rent? What do we do?
well, to break even, we would probably have to go up on the rent and not be talking about discounts on the rent.
The facility?
Do we need to keep it? Absolutely. As,
Part of the reason we kept the facility and a part of the reason that a lot of the community agreed to it was to have a community center, to have an inexpensive place, to have a place for a nonprofit, to have that community center when we have an event here on the riverfront, to actually still have a community center. There's fewer and fewer of them in the country. There's bigger towns, maybe, but it seemed like a pretty good idea that everybody agreed on, that community center, we didn't want to give that up.
Well, I'm analytical, so I would look at it and see, hey, is this worth it to the town? It's costing us $15,000, $20,000 a year. Is it worth it? Yes or no? I mean, no, I'm not saying get rid of it, but I'm just saying, we should be stewards of this and look at it and analyze it and see, are we doing the right thing? Or are we wasting money? Could we use those funds for something else? That's all.
I think it'd be interesting.
Glad you make a good point. And when this first came up, if you go back and recall, because you were in the meeting, my first response, I'll look at everything from a business perspective, right, was, hey, show me a business, and now what does this mean to us bottom line wise? No, if we're going to start looking at everything that we have in the community as a business, there's going to be a whole lot of things that we enjoy going. Water park, swing sets, police departments, you name it, right? They're gone. So we're right. And you ended on a good note. Then we decide if it's something we want to keep or not. I think I have run on the same exact platform every time I've ever run here. When I do speak to anybody about it, it's how do we keep our small town environment, right, the quaint environment. I truly believe, I've heard a lot of pushback, and I think community center is a fabulous thing to have. The generations of families in this town that's had their receptions in there, that's had their parties in there. It's.
I guess what I'm getting at, Tim, is how many people are even using it? Is it 10 families?
I hear you, and yes, I think it would be interesting to look at what can we do to boost some revenue, right? And so if we're looking at boosting revenue, but at the same time, we're looking to vote to reduce revenue, it's like, all right, we gotta figure out what we're doing, right? Let's face it, we're staring down the barrel of a bunch more new expenses coming, just like everybody in this town is.
I don't think we're gonna be getting the money from the state. I think we're gonna see a big domino effect, just like the federal government's gonna take to the state's gonna, the towns are gonna have to deal with it. They're not gonna get these windfalls anymore. Kind of like Libby Levy, you were talking about from the treasurer. They're gonna be on their own.
Yeah, I mean, we're fortunate. We've been able to sustain ourselves for many generations here, right? We do quite well. Since Gene's been here, we've picked up more grant money, I think, in the history of the town, right? And we do very, very well. But if you read the rest of the email, the final part of that email that came from, that Lou read off earlier, the rest of it goes on to talk about how he has to go in and take over communities as they can't run their finances. And I can say from my 21 years sitting up here, the overwhelming majority of the people vote in the best interest of how to use our money. I don't view myself as a politician. I don't view myself as a public official. I view myself as how do we keep this town profitable. If you go look at the books, we're one of the only small communities of our size that has the money we have. And it's because there's been generations and years of people who are making good choices. All right, just not making feel-good choices, making choices that are financially fiscal to all the people in our town.
Well, and I think we need to continue to analyze, because I think we are going to be making some hard choices going down the road. And, yeah, whether that's boosting revenue or whatever, how many times is it being used? If it's not being utilized, we may want it to be this one thing, but if it's not being utilized, then for heaven's sake, you can't force it. You can't put the square in the round hole. You know, but anyway, I was just bringing it up.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Next thing on the agenda is farmers market.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I'm still continuing to try and build out a volunteer committee to look at the feasibility of that. I really needed a couple more people on that committee. As soon as I get that, I will schedule a meeting. I will hope that you could attend the first meeting with us and we could discuss where we want to go.
Certainly do my best. Yeah. Next thing is the meeting minutes and notices. You had also brought up the resolution several months ago about providing better information for our residents and our community. We have added the calendar on our website with posting all of our meetings and our maintenance activities. Is this an issue that has been answered?
Not fully. I think, I shared a lot of things at this meeting, the reports, these these documents here, and what I would like to see happen is that be included with the minutes from the meeting, the same way that I see other towns doing it. The library director was here earlier this month, and because she was coming, I looked at her site, and, you know, they do that sort of thing. Mandeville does it, Covington does it. It's just to take, all these people are sitting in the audience, they don't get to, I'm holding up a picture, but to have this in the minutes where they could actually go back and look at what the inside of the tank looked like, this is public information.
Not to be critical, Louis, and I understand where you're going from, and I think it's honorable, but to go to what you're looking at doing and what the other meetings are done, these things that you handed out and what you have there should have been included in our packet when we started the meeting. Not being a little bit critical. I admire where you're going with the transparency and the information, but these things should have been given to Deidre last week to send out with us, with our packet, so we could take a look at it ahead of time. So,
Yeah.
and then that would also be in the, and all that would be in the minutes. So, I mean, just being a tiny bit critical on those items. But I admire where you're going with the transparency.
No, I appreciate that, and honestly, I thought you guys already got these reports from Kyle. I don't remember, I thought it was shared with everybody.
Well, you're talking about the repair work, the maintenance work that was done on the wells?
Yeah, there were 3 different reports.
I mean, I would hope we're not gonna be expecting repair work and regular maintenance work to be part of, I mean, certainly can be discussed, but to be a part of the minutes, I would think we're gonna extend our packets to look like a dictionary, if that's gonna be expected.
But no, I'm talking about if a document here is referenced during the meeting, that it gets included as part of the meeting minutes. I had an email from the state treasurer, you know, that could be in the minutes. What we got from the Pontchartrain Conservancy, that could be in the minutes, so that everybody who was here could actually read those things and have them available. Everybody else is doing this. To not do it, to me, is hiding. It looks like we're hiding something, and we don't want to hide anything. It's just, it's a best practice is what it is.
I'll certainly review what your thoughts are there and continue to try to include in the minutes after the meeting what has been discussed. Is there any further or any other discussion? Next thing on the agenda is the A1 Residential District, multifamily changes that was recommended. Louis, I know you and Al have been working on this.
Yeah, I made a couple of updates. They're in the yellow highlighted section. Al, 2 things specifically that Al wanted me to do. And just to go back for people who haven't heard about this, these are some proposed updates to the multifamily residential district in our zoning regulations to clarify a better parking space. I think there was a typo in there for that. But currently there's no minimum lot size for a multifamily use, and there is no maximum density for a multifamily use. So I made these recommendations, and Al looked at them, and the things that are highlighted, he wanted to just point out that if you build a single-family home in a multifamily zoning district, which we have several of those along Johnson Street, Old Ponchatoula Highway, he wants to make it clear that they're not subject to a state fire marshal plan review the way a multifamily house would be. And then the other highlighted section is that if you build a single-family home in a multifamily zone, they would be subject to the same setback requirements for single-family dwellings, which is 5 feet around the edges, 10 or 15 feet at the front.
Am I, because I met with Al after he spoke with you, and it was my understanding that the first proposed change, the single family being in section A, would,
It was already in there.
I'm
It was already
sorry,
in there. It was already in there.
that, it's not in there today. You're suggesting adding it. Okay. It was my understanding from him that he did not want it in section A. He wanted in section B, where it would be in permitted uses. Permitted uses would be single-family homes.
Yeah, it was already in there. The only thing that's changed is this highlighted section. And,
Oh, okay. And the, just so that I got a clear understanding so that we can send this forward between you and him, what we're asking for changes to this section. So the second thing would be the minimum lot size. He told me it was already in the ordinance for the entire ordinance. Did he not discuss that with you?
you know, as I watch zoning issues come up here in the parish, if there's not a very clear direction for, and regulations for a zoning change or a zoning request, sometimes that ends up in the court. So, yeah, there was no minimum lot size in this section, and I think it's important for us to have a minimum lot size, even though he did say it was mentioned somewhere else.
Sure,
Yeah,
yes.
but it's just making sure that people realize there's a minimum lot size for multifamily, and it's the same as a single family.
Let me ask you something. Can I ask a simple question? If there's a doubt, will we just add it and be done with it? I don't want multifamily across from me with crazy-ass houses built all over.
Yeah, no, that's why I added it
There's
in
a
there.
doubt, just put it in there,
It's in there.
right? So we move on.
My suggestion, yeah. This is, there's nothing new from what the last meeting was, other than this highlighted section. And it's really ready to go to the zoning commission. I would ask that it be put on their agenda in April. There may be some people who own property, multifamily, A1 multifamily, that have some objection to this. I want them to have plenty of time to look at it and come to the
Hang on a
meeting.
minute. Why April? Why can't we do
The March meeting is like just a few days off. I don't think that's enough time.
It's next Wednesday, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I find your perspective is interesting, but I feel it needs further review. And I'd like to have Al come before us and explain to it if it's just a simple verbiage added, or what does it mean from the multifamily perspective. I think I'd like to speak with Al on it to fully understand it.
Al will be here for the March meeting, right?
Yes.
Right.
We add that to the agenda, Deidre, to have this, I mean, it'll be covered when Al gets up, but if we need to have it added, I want to make sure it's covered.
Yeah, he certainly can give his viewpoints on the proposed changes at that March meeting, yes.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Moving to Parks and Recreation Committee members, Councilman Haddocks, Councilwoman Faison. First thing on the agenda is town park improvements and tennis courts, shade structures. Again, it's just there because there's a new bid opening scheduled for March 11th at 10 o'clock. There's no new information there. I just wanted to remind everybody that the new bid opening would be at that time. Any discussion? Next thing on the agenda is Water Street Boardwalk improvements and recommendations. And there's really nothing. The committee, Councilman Haddocks and Councilwoman Faison, myself met with the architect, and we are scheduled for a follow-up meeting. It hadn't been scheduled yet, so there's nothing really to present to the board or the public at this time. Anything y'all want to say on that?
I mean, it looks nice. I can't wait for us to be able to share it with you guys, because right now you're just wondering what we're talking about. But there were some really nice conceptual drawings for the next steps on the riverfront. Yeah. Yeah, very conceptual, yeah.
Any other questions or comments? Next section is public safety. Committee members, Councilman Dennis, Councilman Bounds. First thing listed is long guns. Has there been anything update that you've presented? No, was there supposed to be some bylaws or some procedures that
Policy and
you,
procedures. We'll have that ready.
so there's no reason, nothing to discuss tonight?
I don't think they'll have reason
I have nothing to discuss on it. It's
No,
nothing.
okay, yeah.
from all the different.
So, yeah, you don't have anything that you haven't presented to them, to the committee, okay. Next thing on public safety is fireworks. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, yeah. Did somebody have something to say on that? No. Okay, next thing is fireworks.
So this was brought up by a local neighbor, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Brad.
It's your deal.
No. Go ahead, please. You got the information you said?
Well, I got an individual that asked me to share his thoughts. Mike Dalton lives on the corner of St. Louis and Water Street on the riverfront. And he asked me to share his thoughts, and I'll share a bit of them. And I'm not proposing that that we need to go in this direction. I'm just trying to share citizens. Not saying we shouldn't, but I'm just sharing the citizens' concerns. He's setting his concerns. The city has a duty to protect citizens, and if it fails, especially where it has been notified, as in this case, it may become liable for its failure to act. My check with city attorney. Fire caused by fireworks have caused 100 million losses in 2022, the last reporting year. Issues of ordinance violation. The fireworks shooters are in violation of noise ordinance, the open fire ordinance, the litter ordinance, using public thoroughfare. The risk issues are primarily fire caused by wind, spreading embers. The shooter has no control of the wind. Our houses are too close together to accommodate individuals shooting off industrial grade and volumes of fireworks. There is no control on quality or quantity. The shooters are unlikely to have adequate liability insurance for any damage they may cause. Suggestion as a solution, have city sponsor, plan, and execute fireworks display on the river and have private parties sponsored just like Christmas lights. So that's just one citizen's thoughts, and I wanted to share them with them. So I'm go ahead.
Thank you, Brad. I was also contacted by multiple residents that were afraid that their houses, their roofs were going to catch fire because after July 5th, I believe, or was it New Year's? I can't remember which one it was. I'm pretty sure it was New Year's. That they had lots of litter. They had multiple casings from the large bottle rockets that were fired that weren't burned all the way through. They had hit the roof and rolled down onto the driveway. And the fact that I can give you the perfect example of my home. The Maritime Museum took the old Christmas trees and stacked them up on the dock up close to my side of the property line, and there was at least 300 or 400 trees, and they were all dry. And if some of these fireworks had landed and the embers could have caught them on fire, caught the dock on fire, transferred over to my property and took my boathouse out, it doesn't take long for a fire to get started. Just look at the fires in California. Chains dragging along the ground, sparks. But it is something I think we need to address, whether it's strictly only having a fireworks show on the river or possibly moving it to an isolated place like the boat launch. I'd like to discuss that where people can go and shoot. It would be away from homes, but the houses in our community are very close to one another. So if one catches, convection is going to move straight across to the next one. So it is concerning, and I'd like to bring this up and we can discuss it further.
Any other comments from the council?
I would agree about the boat launch. I think that's a great place for people to shoot fireworks. Besides the houses being close together, there's quite a few older homes. They're all made of solid wood, which poses an even larger threat. I don't like the idea of having another ordinance. I don't like the idea of having another control. But we are on top of each other, more or less. We don't have large spaces. I think it needs to be, I really think it needs to be looked at. And I think the boat launch is a good idea.
So just like you got a message today, Brad, I had several people reach out with the opposition to a fireworks ordinance. And a lot of the argument is, I moved here because I don't want ordinances. I don't want an HOA. I like living in town because of the freedoms that I have. That's why I chose to live here. You know, I don't know the legalities of it, Bruce. So, you know, some people are saying, you know, the town wouldn't be liable. And Mr. Dalton has an opposite opinion of that. I'm not a lawyer. I couldn't tell you whether or not the town would be liable or not, right? I think this year the big concern was the wind. And, you know, we can't control the weather, right? That's something we'll never be able to control. I think I'd be more interested to look at other municipalities and see what they have before we jump to make our own ordinance. I don't want to make an ordinance without knowing what our options might be. Maybe there's a creative option that we haven't thought of or we won't think of without seeing what other people do, right? I agree with you. I don't like adding more ordinances. I'd rather have fewer if possible, so.
Any other comment?
Personally, I don't shoot fireworks, but I enjoy the fact that my neighbors do, and some of them land in my yard, and I'm okay with that. But I can also see someone, especially if it's some of the really big fireworks where they're close together, somebody would not be okay with that. I think the gentleman who spoke before, Mr. Dalton, had indicated, you know, spent $80,000 on a new roof, and, you know, we have to consider that as well. But, yeah, to me, it's more a matter of being a good neighbor. And if I'm going to shoot off fireworks, I'm going to talk to my neighbors and say, hey, are you okay with this? We actually have an ordinance on the books already for littering that if I shoot debris into my neighbor's yard, I would think they could report it, and there's a $250 fine for doing that. And maybe that's all we need to do is enforce the fine if somebody's doing something and they haven't agreed with the neighbor on it. And it's as simple as that, and we don't need another ordinance, and it, you know, takes care of the issue.
I just think we need to do something about it, and that's a good approach. Neighbor talking to neighbor, but the litter that's left behind, you can drive down any street after July 4th, January 1st, you're going to see debris everywhere. And, you know, it needs to be addressed, and we need to discuss this.
Please state your name and your address.
Any of you all have something picture
Thank you. Yes, sir.
I'm an independent partner. I do not live in your town. I enjoy the beauty of it and the all-American of it. I see all of your points of view. Going back to conversations, y'all are trying to keep that home, that small town vibe. I can appreciate all that. Mr. Christian, I appreciate your wanting to keep it kind of country and unregulated. I live north of Lee Road, so I'm the same way. I stepped up to the podium because I thought I would recommend it, and I gave you guys something I experienced. 2 years ago, I got married in Slidell, and I wanted to launch fireworks for my wife. I couldn't. The process was I had to go to the fire department to get a permit. The fire chief explained to me that they look at weather conditions over the past few days, as well as the location that I want to launch, and they determine then if they're going to issue that permit or not. And that does several things. It prevents that really dry situation where you're increasing risk. It also puts the fire department on notice that there is an additional risk when there's wet or dry. They're aware that you're going to be launching that day at approximately that time, so they can be more ready. So I just want to step up to the podium and suggest that you guys look at that, maybe contact Slidell. I don't know your relationship with the fire department here, I don't know if the town fire department or the parish. But that might be a great solution for you guys. Minimize regulation, but still regulate to a safety factor. And again, the fire marshal did tell me, hey, if we move it to a different location, we can reassess it. So that would also just give the opportunity to say, okay, well, what if we did it at first? What if we did it and these are other safer places? So just something I thought you guys would like to hear, and maybe give you a starting point to look at other jurisdictions.
Thank you for coming. I appreciate that. You're a nice citizen, so I appreciate it.
Thank you for having such a great town. I come here to enjoy your restaurants, and I love the small town and enjoy your town presentation. So I don't live with you, but I like my country life.
Thank you very much.
Hey,
Thank you very much.
Thanks for your comment, but one thing for you, going back to some things we talked about earlier, increasing revenue, if you'd had your wedding here, you could have shot fireworks. Just saying.
I actually almost did it at the museum. My wife overruled me.
I'll tell my wife.
Certainly, I think everyone had valid points, and, we certainly should take that suggestion and maybe get a point of view from the fire department, from the police department, and along with other town ordinances that we could look at just prior to coming up with something on our own. It's listed in public safety simply because I had to come up with a place for it. It could have been operations and maintenance. So what I'm saying is I don't want to ask public safety members to come back with the findings. I want to ask the town council to each come back with their own thoughts in next month and along with possibly contacting the fire department to see if they had any thoughts on it. The police department certainly would. Yeah, you could make a statement tonight.
We have an ordinance on the books now. It's just very, very vague. You can't shoot an animal directly out of home or business. It's rather an old ordinance, but there is an ordinance on our books right now.
What does it say? I'm sorry.
You can't shoot an animal like intentionally out of home.
An anvil?
That's the way it's working.
Okay.
And there's some other minor, it's a very vague.
I'll read it to you. It says, "It shall be unlawful for any person to shoot any skyrockets or Roman candles at any dwelling house or building or at any person or animal within the corporate limits of the town."
There's also one that says something about an animal.
Before that, "It shall be unlawful for any person to shoot off or explode any anvils, guns, or pistols on the street, sidewalks, or in any public place or place of business within the corporate limits of the town." So to me, it looks like, did you say what an anvil is? To me, it's like something that falls down on a cartoon
Looney
character.
Tunes.
But anyway, shooting off guns, that's easy, but the ordinance, to me, it seems to be an intentional thing, that if you intentionally are shooting at someone's house, you're violating the ordinance.
It was a very old, I don't recall the exact year, but it's been
Any thoughts as far as, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, but as far as safety, as far as you enforcing fireworks on the 4th of July or New Year's Eve night. Now, any other time of the year, maybe if it's not allowed, I'm just trying to get some input.
But it is allowed any day of the year.
Well, you know.
Or it's not disallowed.
Maybe it needs to be allowed on, I'm not trying to word it. You know, if you minimize it to a certain day or time frame for fireworks.
Definitely simplify it. I mean, look, this is controllable by us to an extent. And like Ms. Sharma said, you know, you got small kids popping fireworks that's being supervised by the parents or whatever, or guardians, whatever. And you have the larger ones. I do think this is controllable without, my personal opinion, without going overboard and just cutting the ordinance out where we cannot do it. We checked with several municipalities that has that ordinance. They basically still allow the fireworks to be utilized, to be popped, until the complaint is done. Then there's a warning issue, and then there's a summons issue if need be. The officers that I know that I'm familiar with have never had to issue a summons due to that ordinance, okay? As far back as they can remember, and I've talked to some pretty old guys, okay? So I think just to cut it out across the board, I would bet, I don't live in Madisonville, I'd basically be against it, I really would. I think it's a fun thing for the kids, I think if it's regulated properly and we can watch it, you know, we got a small department here, but, you know, the larger fireworks, look, fireworks are expensive. So I don't think you're gonna get a great amount of the large ones that we can control them. Like I said, I don't live here, you guys do. So, but, you know, it's my responsibility to control it right now, okay? So, it seems to be a lot more fireworks, a lot more people having fun that's not being complained upon when you relate it back to the ones that are.
I agree with what you're saying. I just, if you're Mike Dalton perhaps, or a smaller house even with an old roof, and your yard was filtered and your roof was being pummeled with, I mean, I love the fireworks. I mean, my neighbor comes and shoots them in front of my house, and that's where she's getting hit from, but it never bothered me.
Well,
But then I didn't have debris landing on my porch and on my, you know, in front of my window, in front of my door, and
well,
I mean, there's got to be a fine line, I guess.
Well, absolutely. And obviously, if it's causing harm or a true danger to someone's dwelling, either call it, we would have determined the source of that, and we would have addressed it. And look, it seems to me saying here, say, you know, New Year's Eve at 11:59, the world goes crazy with the fireworks, and you know, that would be our challenging time, or 4th of July, or whatever. But outside of that, I guess I think it is something that's halfway controllable without going overboard with saying the ordinance is just gonna be completely cut out to nothing. That's where you got it.
Do you think that you guys would be able to enforce a permitting system like Kevin? Okay.
I do, because I mean, I don't think the valuable permits that you think that you may get is gonna happen, I really don't. And the ones that do, we know our people in our town.
Right.
We know where they live, we know who they are, and we'll know the location, we'll put on the permit where they can do it, and possibly what they can do. Because we may be able to an extent, I guess, regulate what they can do and what they cannot do.
Right.
But I think just cutting it out, it was just, I think that's pretty much the best thing out there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and I kind of put you on the spot. I didn't mean to do that because it spurred a moment. And certainly, we're not going to answer that question tonight. It'll be on the agenda for next month. And I just encourage everyone to do some homework on that so that whether it's the ordinance in Slidell or in another municipality that we look at or consider, or if we take the one we have and just enforce it. I don't know the answer at this time, but I don't want to ask the Public Safety Committee to be responsible for coming back with that information because it really could have gone in a number of places. So if each one of us will look into what direction we may want to go to bring some information back to next month's meeting. We can discuss it further.
Mayor, we absolutely, some, there's not a lot of municipalities that have a main ordinance. There are some, but there's not.
Well, I just, beauty of this stuff and the curse of it. But WWL put out a thing, and it was just, I just Googled fire ordinance in Mandeville, and it said, so it goes by parish. And it says fireworks laws and Fourth of July celebrations around southeast Louisiana. So it's got St. Bernard and so forth, and it's got St. Tammany. It says, I don't know any truth to this, but St. Tammany Parish fireworks are allowed in unincorporated areas, but banned in the city limits of Slidell, Mandeville, Abita Springs, and Madisonville, and Folsom. There are 3 ways to celebrate. Covington, Sparks in the Park, the Slidell Heritage Festival, and the Mandevilles light up the lake. The truth, I don't know if that's actually an ordinance in St. Tammany, but we need to look at that as well.
Well, it's not an ordinance here, obviously, so they don't, yeah, it's a local.
It's hard to
ordinance.
believe you would read something on social media, on the internet.
It's not social media.
It's just mind-boggling to me.
Imagine that, huh?
I did go on social media.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Any other?
I'd just like to thank Ms. Benton for her comments, because I think this topic, even though it's 2 times a year, can stir some passions, and people are passionate about their fireworks displays. And here we have somebody in town who's got an issue, but recognizing the history of, we all probably shot off fireworks when we were kids, and some of us still do, that's important to everybody.
I would hope we could find a happy median. And I think that's also what Ms. Benton expressed, right? The people that are abusing it, we got to find a way to handle it, right? And does that just simply mean whoever Barney has on duty that night, as we see it happening, we go address it? Do we have to, I would hate to have to write rules, right? That's what makes this town so beautiful. We don't have a lot of rules. We're surrounded by gated communities, but we do have to find a way to handle the ones, the very few that are getting out of control with it. That's a very fair request.
It's about control and structure.
Anyone want to offer a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Dennis,
Second.
second by Councilwoman Faison. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much.